Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blues Talk. Again, John, Dave, and myself. We're going to look back over Leinster's pretty good win in the European Cup, all the other European action from last weekend, and the second part, look forward to the round 4 games in the European Cup. So, boys, we beat the Saints 37-10. Pretty good performance.
I'd say pretty good. It's putting it mildly. I think when all things considered, okay, there's the whole Hartley thing which we'll come to, but you take the callousness of the team, and then how even more callow it became as the game progressed, and you look at the performance and you look at the end result. You got to be really happy. I'd be very, very happy with that result. That would be one of Leinster's better results away from home.
Yeah, I was very happy with it too. I thought we started so strong, and everybody on the terrace was just roaring and screaming from minute one. I thought we're going to hockey them. This is it, and then things took a bit of a turn when Carberry went off and
Carney.
But Ross Byrne came on, and he was a bit hesitant when he came on at
You don't
first.
blame him. I mean, he's
like Jesus, no, don't blame him at all. I mean,
but
he's making his Euro debut.
I'd say it took him nearly 20 minutes just to go calm, get the heart rate down. And
what I was about to say, he took it in his stride eventually, and he what's the phrase they use? He grew into the game. There was a period there where we went from 10-0 looking like we were going to be a runaway train to 10-0 to just after half time where it's 10-0 and we haven't scored a point in 50 minutes, and all of a sudden everything is going off the rails. And I felt even when they were behind, the way the game had gone up to half time, that if they came out and scored a try early, whoever scored first nearly would win.
I thought that as well, and I turned around to the lad beside me and said, "Next try is the winner."
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
I thought it was more a case of Leinster doing what Leinster always do. How many times have we said it? I'm going to say it again. Leinster had a little bit of a snooze for 20-25 minutes in the match, and then woke up again, and then went back. Because what you have to remember is, okay,
I think this was different, Dave, because they blitzed off.
I think you had the two things happening at the same time. You had the effect that losing the first choice out, or the starting out half, had, combined with Leinster. That's what Leinster do in these European games. They lose 20 minutes right in the middle of the game, and then they come out really,
not
really
just
sharp.
European games.
Then they come out really, really sharp in the second half.
I think I would say though that we end up blitzing the game, winning the game, and then taking our foot off and going to sleep and saying the game is won, and we can kind of
we have a number of patterns we follow.
But maybe so. But I thought this one actually showed a lot of bottle and balls, because the Saints came back there. We were on our way. We were on their patch. They got it back to 10-all, and then immediately afterwards, and see, we got that penalty to make it 13-10, and then O'Brien's try and so forth, and then they didn't score.
There's a couple of ways Leinster do it. There's what I call the Claremont, which is where you let them rack up a bit of a lead, then you chase it down. Then there's the inverse Claremont, where you rack up a lead and they try and chase you down. We've done both of those things. And then there's what I call the Scarlets, where we rack up a lead and then bugger off to the pub. And that's Leinster do all those things. But the key thing is that, from the second half they came out, okay, they'd lost Carney, but they came out really, really focused in the second half.
Oh yeah. And they obviously had a little chat as to how to play the game differently, because by the time Ross Byrne settled down, I'm sure that coaches had seen something in the first half that they said, "Look, lads, this is how we're going to do it," because they were getting, like, we have the pack that should be able to compete with anything Northampton have.
And that's where we gained our most yards and possession from, was taking them on up front. And if you think of the phase just maybe 5 minutes before half time, when we must have had 100% possession, and we were on their line and banging and banging and banging, and we tried to go wide, but really all we had to do was take it on in the forwards. And like, if you see where O'Brien scored in the 50th minute or whatever he scored in, it was forward momentum and forward oriented. So I'm sure that's what the coaches said.
We really started to drive them in the forwards. Actually, obviously, the lineup was a little bit shaky, not as good as it could have been. But the scrum was an unbelievable weapon.
I believe the phrase is on toast.
You don't normally see an English club scrum get demolished like that.
No.
I mean, it was literally demolished.
And then, of course, it didn't do Northampton any good playing with 14 men for the final half an hour.
And indeed 13 men for the final 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. and they took off. Your man Gibson was muck, and they took off Tom Wood.
Yeah,
I
could not believe that.
Do you think
Tom
that was
Wood's a great player?
Clearly, it was a decision that Malander and West made. But in hindsight, do you think that they took him off to preserve him for the rest of the Viva Premiership because they are struggling in the league?
There's an element to that, but the thing is, I mean, it was at the time, it was 2010. There were still points in that match for Northampton.
Yeah.
The guy who was most likely to drive them onto those points,
Yeah, but
was Tom Wood.
I watched it when I came home, and you could see him actually mouthing, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah, he didn't know
He
what was
wasn't
happening. I mean, it was
impressed.
a strange decision. And there's an element that some people suggest that maybe he was drafting Cotton Wool for this week or the Premiership, but that's not really in the psyche of a club like Saints.
Well, also
Saints always go.
Yeah,
those
he
clubs
rallied them,
go
yeah,
for it.
yeah. It's what probably did for him in the second half
Yeah.
of the final against us.
Yeah.
The season where they had putting out the same 15
but-
players every week.
But a couple of seasons after that, they played Leinster in Donnybrook in a pre-season friendly, and they played all of their
they
they played
stars,
a load of their
Huge
stars
number
that
of them,
played in that European Cup final. When we were playing, a bunch of fellas that at the time you hadn't heard of. Now subsequently, probably Van de Fleer was playing and Conan and so
Guys
and so
like
on.
that ilk,
But,
yeah.
but they were the fellas of
I think it was before their time.
maybe it might have
was.
been, but
Jordy Murphy and Dominic Ryan, maybe.
But like we didn't play. There was Jamie Heath, Brian O'Driscoll, Gordon Darcy. None of those lads were playing.
No.
And at the end of the day, those fellas go on and play 30 matches throughout the season, spread between Ireland and Leinster, and they've done pretty well. At it.
That's okay in terms of having a plan. I don't think what they did was part of a
No.
plan. I think
Not
it was.
at all, no.
I think it was two guys who were kind of, to a certain extent, shell shocked by what was happening in front of them. Because I mean, they'd worked hard. They'd gotten back. They'd been absolutely wiped out in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then they'd worked their way back into the game. But then the second half started, and everything they'd fought hard to gain, they had lost again. I mean, Leinster would have I don't think the winning margin would have been all that different if Northampton had stayed at 15 players, because we had worked out how to beat them, and how to beat them was playing 2-3 out rugby.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. That's their game.
Do you think the introduction of Ruddock for Triggs, like it kind of coincided with the
The
resurgence?
scrum just went.
Yeah. He's a very powerful guy. He's a very powerful carrier. And the way that Leinster, like we were saying, the way that Leinster wanted to play the game in the second half by not being too expansive too early. Ruddock is a guy who can play that pattern.
But then you have a more dynamic individual playing in the second row. That's going to get around to the breakdown a little bit quicker.
I was looking though. He was at loose head. He was playing on the left side of the scrum, so he wasn't driving the tie like you'd expect nearly that he'd be if you're putting him down as that powerful. But Toner, with all his
But
experience,
sometimes they
on
play
the tight
second
head
row.
side.
It's just what side you're comfortable on. It might depend on whether you're left or right-handed, because your power goes through the stronger arm. And I don't know what if he could.
Well,
Ruddock
as
could be
a
left-handed.
as a flanker, he's used to switching sides of the scrum the whole time anyway, and pushing with both shoulders. But
And Dev's a pretty formidable tight head scrummager.
well,
in
he sure
fairness.
is now. He sure is. The thing about it is though, the two changes that happened, I think, before that particular scrum was him and Hartley. So Hartley, even though they had 8 men in that scrum, Hartley vanished backwards at a rate of knots. When I saw him coming on, I thought, here we go, he's going to do that little neck lift thing where he gets his tight head in under him, and but no, they were driven back, and then obviously when they lost a man in the scrum, they were going to be
the heartening
trouble.
thing as well. Obviously, they might have had a man down, but it's not so much a problem. Is that when we had a front row, when we changed our front row entirely, we still dominated them. Ben Healy and Tracy were just as dominant as McGrath, Cronin, and Furlong.
We had a couple of tweets, didn't we, Dave?
We did. Well, I suppose we better talk about the big
Dylan's,
event. We had a couple of questions about Dylan Hartley.
But just to set it up,
Yeah.
he's already been banned for 54 weeks of his professional rugby career.
Yeah.
It's a
over a year,
ridiculous amount of time that someone has paid you.
Yeah.
And I thought
36 of those weeks for offences against Irish.
and
doesn't
some
like us, does he?
No.
some serious ones, biting, gouging.
Oh yeah.
Like-
He has run the panoply. Unsportsmanlike conduct, biting, gouging, striking. You name it, he's done it. I'm surprised he hasn't been done for piracy.
But
attacking people on the high seas.
Yeah,
He
Barratry.
he
luring
certainly
ships onto rocks.
he was given both barrels by Delalio on BT Sport.
Yeah, Delalio didn't hold back, and Delalio made a very good point because Delalio knows what it's like to be England captain.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how to deal with the pressure.
And suffered with that pressure, if you remember.
But he knows how to deal with the pressure and how you have to feed it back into the box. We had a couple of questions. One of them is, and Ian Ritchie, who's the head of the chief executive of the RFU, came out today. I suppose to a certain extent he was probably trying to protect his man. But Andrew Byrne asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how inappropriate is it for Ian Ritchie of the RFU to be talking about Hartley's disciplinary hearing before it has been convened? Is he the only guy on the planet who thinks Hartley should be given some leeway, as when he played for England he didn't gouge, punch, headbutt or bite anyone, and also refrained from swearing at the referee and calling him a cheat? But it's a valid point. I mean, all the defence of Hartley has been has centred around, well, he hasn't done it for England, so what? It doesn't matter, you know.
He's been good for weeks and weeks now.
He's good for 4 weeks a year. So was it inappropriate of him? Possibly not. It was I don't know if it was a...
I suppose you have to defend your man, don't you?
Yeah. Well, the most lenient thing I've seen the most I suppose lenient on Hartley thing I've seen about it is that he was trying to dislodge the ball and Sean O'Brien went down on his knee and he connected with his head but he was really just trying to well, that is biggest lot of horseshit.
Poppycock.
He was at best trying to give him a punch in the guts and missed and hit him in the head.
Well,
at worst, he was trying to give him a smack in the head,
And
which
succeeded.
But considering that O'Brien ended up going off and stayed off for those remaining 25 minutes, now, you know, he was out
could
injured.
bring on Jack Conan.
But O'Brien was kind of, I mean, he might have played the whole game, but there was doubts about his fitness prior to the match, and let's say he would have played for another 5 or 10 minutes. But that's irrelevant, really. The guy ended up having to be substituted
because his own steam.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, and you know, it was a swinging arm. It was dangerous play, and the player ended up going off for 25 minutes.
Reckless at best.
It'll be very interesting to see how, because I'd say there'll be howls of derision if the usual good conduct,
of course,
mitigation.
He didn't eat the biscuits.
I mean, to a certain extent, once a player reaches a certain level, bans should be increased, as you know, as a punitive measure. I mean, he should be told, right, you're over a year of disciplinary bans.
But it's like, say, in America they have the 3 strikes and out. Yeah. Like, if you, regardless of whether they're just nicking a car instead of killing somebody, but like, he's been up against very serious charges, and this is going to be another one umpteen times, and they really should say there's no mitigating factors in that.
Didn't he have an incident with Rory Best as well in a similar December game? And I think that was the year Ulster had.
Was that the gouging or the biting?
I think that was the gouging. I think
Ferris was the biting.
Yeah, Ferris tried to fish hook him with his finger, and Dylan was upset at this and chomped down on him.
That was his defence anyway.
It was one of these horse shit again.
Yeah.
But anyway. Best. Oh yeah, Ulster were on a run of 11 games in the league and cup, and that was the game they lost. They went to Northampton, or was it? I think they went to Northampton. They played them at home the first week, and they lost their unbeaten record and pieces of Rory Best on the same weekend. But so the guy has had such a history for it. He should be out. He should be missing a few games of the Six Nations.
He should be benched for the remainder of the season. It's as simple as that. I mean, you can't. At some stage, as a sport, we're going to have to say, it's all very well talking about concussion and head injuries, but players have a duty of care to one another as well on the pitch. Mm-hmm. And at some stage, you're just going to have to say, no, look, you're a gouger. You're going to have to spend the rest of the season in anger management, and we see where you are at the beginning of next season. See ya.
Well. It'll be interesting to see how he does get on, but the fact is that we'll probably know before this episode goes out. So
well, I wonder though.
Well, this is being recorded on Tuesday, and the disciplinary is Wednesday.
Yeah.
So by the time this comes out, probably on Thursday, it'll all be moot. So I can't believe they gave him such a lenient ban. Mm-hmm. Congratulations for giving him such a stiff ban. Mm-hmm. Delete as applicable.
So you'll be editing that tomorrow night.
We scored 5 tries. So why don't we have a
wander through them?
We got off to a blitz start. I mean, I think this try was scored within the first
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And it was fairly it wasn't that much of a complicated move. It was
No.
It was just
poor
a
tackle.
good hard carry.
Yeah. And away we go. Carney had a good game, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that man there is always alive to the possibilities of a pass.
It has the look of a
Gary
set move.
Ringrose. Yeah, and Carney's been involved in a few of them over the years. It's nice to see him coming back into a bit of form. He's been criticised heavily over the last couple of years.
That was just a move.
It was a
where
nice little
he
power
ran.
handoff.
Well, he just ran through two players that really, you have that question, what the hell they're doing.
When you get the
And
timing,
the answer is nothing.
Nothing.
He didn't do that.
when you get the timing right and a handoff, though, it's just because it propels you on, it gives you a little bit of pace, and also it obviously knocks the guy out of the way, which is the
Yeah.
intention. But if you just time it right, you don't even need Sean O'Brien like power. You just need to get the timing right, and that's what he did. You can see sometimes when big guys get the timing wrong, and they hit the guy after they've already extended the arm, and the power just isn't there because they haven't executed it correctly.
So this one's O'Brien's trying, and this came at an absolutely crucial time.
Yeah.
Yep. We'd begun to exert a certain amount of dominance again just by keeping it going back to our pack was dominant, so we started using them.
I thought it was good direction from Luke McGrath. Like, he made some errors again. He certainly didn't have the perfect game, but
No, he's not the finished article, but he did okay.
I thought he directed our pack very well around the pitch, and he knew as well. I thought actually I was quite impressed with we had a very inexperienced out half on, and he took on a lot of
Yeah, he did.
responsibility.
Yeah, he watched him.
Some of it he didn't execute fantastically, but that's not the point. The fact is that he showed a lot of leadership within the team and took on the responsibility
People in Leinster like to talk about out halves or scrum halves. We're obsessed with scrum halves. But the fact is we haven't produced a decent one since John Robbie. And there's a reason for that. That's because people from Leinster know fuck all about scrum halves. And, you you look at the debate on this. I mean, the debate on how McGrath played is almost binary. Mm-hmm. He was either brilliant or crap. And the truth is that he did some things well and he did other things not so well. But that's what you expect from... What age is he? 24?
Yeah.
That's what you expect from a guy who's 24 in one of the key positions in the pitch, who's taken on an awful lot of responsibility onto himself because the guy outside him was only 21 and making his European debut.
Correct, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought he did okay. I'm not going to say he was brilliant because he wasn't. I'm not going to say he was dreadful because he wasn't.
Yeah, no,
he was.
I agree.
He did the job.
Yeah, I was happy enough with him.
This was super play from Byrne. I thought this kick was on a...
But this is he had maybe 30 minutes on the pitch at this stage.
Yeah, he played himself into it.
Yeah.
You could see the way he was moving the team around the pitch.
This kick actually was heading towards us in the stand, and it was on an absolute sixpence. It really was.
And just to note, this wasn't from advantage play. This was from open play.
Yeah.
He was doing this on purpose, kind of thing.
It was a beautiful kick, but that's what he's always been renowned for, being able to direct the game.
And he's up against Foden that has maybe 30 caps. I don't know what he has, but he has
Well, Foden didn't
very
even jump.
20 or 30 England caps, and he made him look like a chump.
Maybe the wife wouldn't let him jump.
Maybe not.
He had his back to it and he didn't jump, so he had no chance.
Yeah.
But Rory O'Loughlin took it beautifully, and the kick was executed with best Sexton-like technique. So you can see it's a nice contrast between himself and Carberry. They're nice contrasting out halves, and I can see for years to come, if they both stay A with Leinster and B healthy, that we'll be able to deploy them for games. Already we're seeing Luke McGrath become the Isaac Boss, like direct the pack around, be it an auxiliary flanker, batter people and lead the pack around, whereas Gibson Park is become the speed the ball up, and well, we'll get to his next one, is it? Yeah. This was sublime. Like,
Yeah, there was some great
in fact,
footwork.
I was torn between the decision to give him a slap for trying to do too much. And
Look, you just went wide really
here
quickly.
we go. Off you go.
Now watch, he takes him in.
Straight past
Here
us
you go.
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
bye!
Now your man is much bigger and much harder to manoeuvre, so he knew he had him.
Yeah.
But he kept going all the way under the sticks. He could have been taken out by at least 3 players. You might see it on the replay. He just glided past us on the terrace there, and it was... Yeah, there we are, look.
There you go. Hello.
it was great to be that close to it.
But I just thought, like that
you don't
try.
normally see Jamie so happy on the pitch,
No.
and that's 2 times he's been caught smiling.
And it's him that stripped the ball there as well.
I thought though that there's this exuberance of youth within this team now, and there's almost like that they're afraid. They're not afraid that they want to run the ball. Like that was a situation there. They needed the bonus point try, and they were willing to go wide from that was from the halfway line, and we would 4 or 5 passes, get it out to the wing and go wide.
The other side of that is the problem we had in the first half. Part of the problem we had in the first half, at the tail end of the first half, was we were trying to go wide too early.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And the second half, what we started to do was we earned the right to go wide, and then obviously when Hartley went off, it makes it a bit easier. But you have to earn that right.
But as well, like the best type of ball to attack on is turnover ball.
Oh god,
So,
yeah.
like they had,
and they swung it wide really quickly.
yeah.
He showed great awareness, but the bit that was that I felt like slapping him for was he dummied past 2 or 3 guys right on the line. Like if that had been me, as soon as I got a sniff of the line, I would have gone, well, we only need another try. It doesn't matter whether we convert it or not. Nothing else matters other than getting this ball down behind the line. That's it. I would have been just pop the minute I hit the line. He would, no, I'm going to swan around and I'm going to beat this guy as well. And I got, now in fairness, he pulled it off, so you can't criticise him. And also, you could see him looking around him when he did it. He was very aware of where everybody was.
Where's Luke? He was saying.
Who are you?
Did you see that, Luke? Did you?
That was crooked, but we'd say nothing.
Yeah. So again, it was very kind of. It was a third try that we scored from a line out on that side of the pitch.
For a line-out that didn't go all that well, but it just shows you how when we talk about Connacht, how important winning line-out ball is.
Yeah, and Issa, of course,
Issa
did
does
plenty.
what Issa does.
Did plenty to get over the line there. You know, he's quite a lot of finishing off to do there.
Yeah, but the finishing in that try was done above the neckline. If you think about it, because he was
his
down on the
pace.
ground, but your man he wasn't held, so he didn't have to release the ball, so he could just get straight back up and pop it over.
Yeah, I have to say it was a lovely job from our Issa. What he's lost in the extra yard of pace, he's gained in upper body strength and of course head strength.
Nice pass from Adam Byrne, it should be noted. That was a nice long pass from Adam Byrne.
I also thought that
Look at it here. Look.
Jerome Garces had a very good game.
Yeah,
for
he
a
did,
guy who
yeah.
used to get a bit of a slagging a few years ago. I
he's-
can remember the words "farces" being used against him, but the guy is really.
I thought he did well. You can always see his look if you look at it closely. The sending off, and he says, "Number 16, who's number 16?" And Dylan Hartley turns and looks. You see Gar says, kind of blinking, going, "Oh God."
You know he didn't say a word to him.
No, he didn't.
He just looked at him and went, "Go, leave my sight. You smell of shit."
I don't think he quite said that.
That's what he was thinking.
I think that was more James Davies. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's
I
in
heard about that.
a bit of trouble, but yeah. So
Making wanker gestures.
So we were talking about Ross Byrne. We have a couple of questions in. Maybe we take them in part 2, will we? See the deal with going forward.
But one guy that was like kind of their star, or was their star player for a lot of the season, Louis Piquemoles. Yeah, exactly. Like totally outplayed. And even Tom Woods. Well, Tom Woods was I thought their best player on the pitch. Their back row was just outclassed, for a lot of the game.
Sean O'Brien, Jamie Heaslip, and do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Munster were in their pomp in the early 90s, and people,
hundreds of them.
And but people would say, "Oh, and plucky little Munster beating all the heavyweights of Europe." Plucky little Munster had the whole Irish pack out for
and
a
the
club
Irish
side.
halfbacks.
And
the
the subs.
Irish halfbacks.
I mean, it's getting to the situation. If you recall, Munster, they had David Wallace, they had
Alan Quinlan,
and they had Anthony Foley,
Dennis Leamy.
they had Jim Williams. A lot of those at the same time. And we've reached a similar position of strength.
Yeah. The pack we had out, we had feckin' the starting Irish back row from the Autumn Internationals, and we had Jack Conan and Rhys Ruddock on the bench.
Dan Levy twiddling his thumbs.
Dan Levy sitting at home. That is ridiculous.
Johnny Murphy injured.
Well,
just to go back to you were talking about Piquemoles in particular, and I think Piquemoles plays the game. He's playing better for Northampton this year, but he generally plays the game within a 20-metre corridor either side of the scrum, if you like. And that's where he does his best work, picking and going.
He's got fitter in the last few years.
Yes, but the thing about picking and going, if you're on the back of a scrum that's going backwards on its arse, you can't. All he was able to do, his main job, his biggest concern was actually securing the ball.
Correct, yeah.
Not forget about picking it up and making a charge. Just getting on the ball before, because one area where Luke McGrath was superb was spoiling around the back of the scrum. Yeah. He made shit of Pickamo's attempts to pick up the ball every single time.
Exactly what I was about to say. You know, for a guy who's probably half the size of Louis Pickamo's, he had him on his arse several times at the back of his scrum, where he just clattered him.
Some of it legally.
Again, he's the auxiliary back row type of player, even though he's smaller than Boss in height and probably size as well. But you know, he's a bit of filling out to do.
Yeah, like if you look at our team, we had such a generally inexperienced team. Like we had 3 guys making their European debuts: Adam Byrne, Roy O'Loughlin, and Ross Byrne. Then you also had fellas like Carberry, Van der Fleer, Conan, Tracy, Ringrose. Okay, they have been capped by Ireland, but they've really only established themselves in the Leinster's team.
I mean, the reality is this is only Gary Ringrose's second European season. I mean, last season he played 20 minutes.
Sure, he was doing exams during the first couple of matches.
When I was looking at I just went through the squad. There's only 11 of the current squad are still on the Leinster books that were in the 23 that played in the match 3 years ago in the View Stadium.
But I mean, the reality is Ross Byrne is our 4th choice out half.
Yeah,
and he went out there and he did a job like that. Now whether 4th choice was the position he should have been in, or he'd fallen into it as a result of injury and the performance of others, one can debate. But the reality was we nominated 3 out halves for the European squad, and he wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
So for him to do that, to step up to that level, was very good. Rory, I mean, here's the thing: we said it. This is the 20th week running. We're going to say it. The guys who've been most impressive for Leinster this season, and the guys who were most impressive in Navan and in Tala at the beginning of the season. And those guys have taken the opportunity they were given and carried the form that they displayed in those matches, and they've been given opportunities.
But you have to admire that from the coaching ticket.
Oh, you do.
It's very easy to revert back and go, do you know what? We have a Springbok guy that's played 30 times on the bench, not even on the bench, sitting back in Dublin, who's in the squad. You know, instead of picking Adam Burns, instead of picking O'Loughlin.
I wonder one of the things about Stuart Lancaster is he is a development guy. That was always his strength. He was
been in charge of
elite player development officer, all that kind of stuff.
And England Academy.
He's obviously a guy who trusts younger players, or is prepared to give younger players a go.
There's a good interview in.
Because it wasn't the case last season. People forget that. I mean, we played we picked a load of young guys against Bath in the RDS, but that was the only time they played.
Yeah.
You know, so that wasn't really doing much for youth development. This year, youth is being developed.
Yeah. There's a very interesting article in Rugby World magazine that's just out at the moment, and it's an interview with Lancaster, and he said he's just reveling in not having to deal with sponsors, with administrators, the politics of it, and just getting back to coaching. And he said he laid that down to Leinster, that I want definition of my role at the start when he was being employed, and I want to get back coaching. I want to let somebody else, whether it's Cullen or Dempsey or whoever, let them take responsibility for dealing with the branch, the union,
the brand,
the sponsors perhaps. Anyway, some of the other results. So sorry, that result moves us obviously top of the table. We're on 11 points. Montpellier and Cast fought it out, and they Montpellier beat Cast 32-14. So as usual, the home team wins,
despite having a man sent off.
So they're on 10 points.
And I'm sure the same thing will happen next week, only in reverse.
Yeah, well, we'll see, because Cast almost look like they're out of it. With
I would nearly prefer Montpellier to win and knock Cast out of it.
Yeah, I would, because we have Montpellier in Dublin, and it's tricky going to France because they will put up a bit of a brave display. But if they've nothing to play for in the last match, Cast, at home, they might get away with not putting an effort at home. You see, so. Some of the other results we just quickly rattle through them. Munster destroyed Leicester Tigers 38-0.
Yeah. That was an awesome. I saw not all of it, but I saw some of it in a pub in Ealing of all places. But it was vintage Munster really, and Leicester were just
They were dreadful.
shocking.
They were
I've
shocking.
never seen them.
They
like
were,
that.
but you know what I thought was very good was all of Munster's established players were first class. Whether it was, you know, O'Mahony, Zebo, Sanders, Murray.
The guy who
Ryan.
The
was,
offload from Murray to
obviously,
Zebo for that
Sta-
try.
Standard
was-
got the man of the match, but the
beautiful.
real player was Murray. Murray was the absolute man for that game. I mean, and the thing was, he was up against the guy who'd been trumpeted as a possible.
Yeah,
I mean, it would like comparing
think-
Conor Murray to me.
I think it's just an ex-true Ben Young's next now, isn't it? It's who's
I've
next?
moved above Ben Youngs in the line selection as a result of that performance.
Well,
One other guy that took my eye was Sweetenham. I thought again, like
Yeah.
he won.
He
so many
is going to
balls.
be Munster's Dave Carney, and I mean that in the most positive way possible, because he does all those really, he does the real nitty gritty basic things, and he does them really really well, and then goes away and does them again. You know that kind of way. And he's got pace. He's good in the air. You can see him being the kind of winger that Joe Schmidt really really loves.
yeah, yeah.
You can see
Absolutely.
him. I can maybe even the
Big
Six
powerful
Nations.
lad
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
If not, definitely the tour to Japan.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is Joe might want a bit more meat on his bones, but that's about it.
Well, I have to say,
A few more games.
in
Yeah.
general, we have a few wingers starting to come through. Like Adam Byrne is a real
So,
serious.
actually, I meant to say that. I mean, Adam Byrne, some of the flashier things or some of the more obvious things that happened in the game didn't go his way, but he worked his arse off. Actually, I mean, some of his carries in contact, you know, he was taking. There were 2 or 3 guys having to pull him down. He showed great power.
Yeah.
Obviously, that pass, that lovely swinging pass for Issa Nasiwa, I'd say he's a guy who can be pleased with his game. I mean, there was some because he dropped that obvious ball. And it was, I'm sure, it was very, very poor, and I'm sure he's sick and tired of seeing it. But the other stuff, the less open field stuff, he did really, really well.
Well, do you remember a few weeks or maybe months back that every week we wanted to hold up a placard saying we need power and pace on the wings. Well, you know, we have it now.
Yeah.
He's the man for power and pace.
Yeah, yeah.
And
In
saves
the
me
back
having
three.
to pronounce a Fijian or a Tongan.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. We'd have a word with him, see if he can change his name. But anyway, back to Munster.
Yeah.
Makaraya Lavoka Wakin Jokin.
Wakadakadu.
So, like, I mean, just it was a great performance, and puts them top of their
Yeah.
pool table, with maximum points now from there. They've only played
But-
2 games, of course.
They've played 2 home games and Racing have played 2 away games.
Racing were beaten by Glasgow,
Yeah.
which was a surprise result because Glasgow normally threatened to deceive in European matches. But
I think Glasgow were kind of in last chance saloon. They had to pull something out of the bag because they'd been very, very, they've been very poor against Munster. They had to do something to restore a bit of pride. I mean,
They
were
did
great.
hockey Leicester.
They were great. I was going to say that they were great the first day, and then threw all that away, all that kind of, if you like, good vibes. They were. I mean, obviously there was a tricky situation around the Munster game, but they still absolutely shamed themselves. So it was very important for them to get some kind of performance back together again.
To me, it's kind of Leicester look to be out of it, but it's the closest group and it's hardest to predict. I'd say
Racing are on no points.
exactly. Yeah.
Tigers are on 4.
But they've 3 home games to come.
Yeah,
It's been skewed by the postponements.
Exactly, yeah. And so those matches are going to be in January.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And Munster have 10 points out of 2 games, which is excellent. But
They're both
again,
as
there's
almost
3
the same.
away games to come. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that shakes out. I can see it being a group that perhaps only one team will come out of.
I think that's how it's going.
And I can see it being a group where the one team that comes out of it gets an away quarter final. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think they might take points off one another.
Exactly.
Those 3 teams. I don't think Leicester might as well. I mean, I always say about English teams. I mean, there's no dead rubbers when you're playing an English side.
Well, we'll see how they get on. I mean, if Munster lose at Welford Road, it'll put
And their
Tigers back
first
into the mix.
away
Well,
game
isn't
of the
that
season.
isn't that the great thing about these back-to-backs? It's only half time.
Yeah.
And there's always you have all these little subplots going from the first game now into the second game.
And you said it 100 times. The English teams are extremely proud clubs. They've over 100. Like most of those teams have more than 100 years history. There's people that go, their granddads have gone to watch them and so on. And
Many cases sitting in the same seats.
And exactly. And I read the Northampton Saints website and their forum board. Like, there's a lot of pissed off fans there that are, and Malander is
Public enemy number one.
Lucky to be still in a job.
Well, 9 years is too long
certainly
for any coach.
from the fans' point
Yeah,
of
I
view.
agree with
But like they will not accept another hockey in Dublin. Just like the Tigers fans won't accept another. Like Cockrell will be gone if Munster put another 40 points on them in Welford Road. But just quickly moving on, Ulster had a superb win against Claremont.
Brilliant game.
Felt that they let Claremont get those 2 points though.
Oh, that kind of ruined it took the gloss off the game in a way, because a Claremont side with 2 less points would have made that group an awful lot more exciting. Like, they're still way ahead of everyone in that group, and to be fair, they look like the best side in the group every day and twice on Sunday. So they're not going to drop another.
Do you know Claremont have just won 2 out of 3 as well though? It's just their bonus points. They got 2 for their loss, but they're on 12 points. Ulster are on 9.
Sure, they did lose the other day, like so.
But it was a classic game. I mean, there's been an accusation since the competition shifted away from the Heineken Cup to be the European Champions Cup that the games, the intensity, the quality hasn't been the same, the excitement hasn't been the same. But you certainly couldn't accuse that game of being.
Is that because are we a bit biased in that saying because there's 3 Irish teams won, and we kind of feel the gap, possibly the gap isn't as wide as we were told it was.
We're used to at this stage. I mean, leaving Irish teams out of it completely. In the Heineken Cup, you'd sit down and you'd watch all the other games, and you'd see great games with no Irish interest in groups, even without Irish interest. You'd watch them and they'd be really, really entertaining. And then for a while that kind of stopped because it became a bit. The teams you expected to win always won. There was very few upsets. And maybe now that the whole thing is beginning to reset itself, new levels have been found, either been raised to or dropped down to, I don't know. But this weekend, I watched most of the games this weekend, and I found it was a much more enjoyable weekend than I can remember in the European Champions Cup for a long time. Well, and that even includes a weekend in which Munster won. But I mean, just the weekend itself was an enjoyable weekend. There was lots of good stuff that happened. A lot of it in this game. I mean, it was a great game.
Yeah.
Well, you can kind of already pick out a lot of the semi-finalists already, like Saracens, almost guaranteed unless a bomb explodes in their local.
Don't make jokes about that kind of thing.
Well, that's true. They look like destined. Claremont also look destined to be in a semi-final somehow.
Semi or quarter?
Semi. And you could actually see, Toulon are going to have to travel away, given if they get out of their group, which they possibly will. I think that group and the group of Connacht are going to yield the 2. I think Toulon and Saracens will come out of the group, and I think that Wasps and either Toulouse or Connacht will come out of their group.
I think any good team with a bit of pace and enough power will beat Toulon. They don't.
Possibly.
They're not.
I'm not saying they're great shakes, but I'm saying they'll come out of that group.
Oh yeah, no, I think they will. Obviously, Wasps and Connacht was the last game of the weekend involving
Wasps would be the other.
That was another really good game to watch. Really, really entertaining game.
Wasps would be the 3rd quarter finalist or semi-finalist, I would predict, and I'm hoping that Leinster might be as well.
You see, the thing about it is,
a lot of
you never know until you see how the draws come out.
Of course, but if you get a home, like there's only 4 home quarterfinals, obviously, and if those 4 teams get home quarterfinals, you'd back them to beat pretty much anyone.
I mean, it's still a little bit early to say, but I mean, Wasps looked beatable.
I'm putting
Connacht managed
putting my cock on the block early, Dave.
Connacht managed to get Well, hopefully they do as well as Cardiff. But who won?
That's right.
Surprising.
Connacht
actually gave Wasps quite a run.
Yeah.
And managed to do
until they missed that penalty
without bothering with one entire set piece at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
I flicked onto that match with 20 minutes to go, and the kicker was just about to take his kick to tie it, and he missed. And then it was
one-way traffic after that.
They were sloppy. They had silly mistakes. Marmion missed the ball underneath.
If they had a line out, they could have won that game.
Yeah. But
they lost 2/3 of their line out.
Wasps did look very strong when they've got some very big ball carriers, and there's
Wasps are a great team. Like they're the second best team in England,
and the best team to watch in England,
and possibly 3rd or 4th best in Europe.
I mean, that's what contributed to that game. And so, good, you have 2 teams trying to play the game a certain way.
But their forwards. The Connacht scrum certainly put it up to Wasps.
Yeah, but like we were saying beforehand, I'd say, what do you always say, Jason? You've twice as many line-outs as scrums. And that's. And And you'd expect more because Quinn Rue and Delan are two very, very good players. But maybe they're a bit similar. Certainly, they wouldn't be the tallest lads in the line-out. And Launchbury just took them apart. He took the Connacht line-out apart. He is a great player, but you're gonna come up against. There's a lot of great players in this competition, but he took the Connacht line-out apart. It was brilliant play from him, and he was a richly deserved man of the match. But I don't know. I thought Marmion played well. He made that mistake, as you said, but he played. I mean, it's looking well for. I mean, to a certain extent, it's looking well for Ireland because the extended Irish squad are all playing well.
Yeah, and like as we mentioned in the Munster match, similarly with the Ulster game, I thought that Ulster's big name players or big game players were outstanding. Like the likes of like the Irish guys, Marshall, Jackson.
Jackson was excellent. It has to be said.
Henderson,
Jackson.
and then you had Pienaar and
well, I have to say, look, I did criticise Ulster for letting in those 2 points, but that's really being over fussy. Like, let's face it, lads. I know they were at home, but they beat Clermont Auvergne, which is no mean feat. You only need to be in your whole of your health to beat them. No
beat
matter
them
who
with
you are.
verve and panache as well.
And they beat them looking good,
Exactly.
juggling fire and all that stuff. So hats off to Ulster. I mean, we were slagging them as a team in crisis only a week or two ago.
But
and bowler hats.
it was a good overall result for the Pro 12. Obviously, the 3 Irish teams won and Glasgow won. So those, like, we had 4 of our 7 teams won. Not so good for the English. Like, they had only had Wasps and Saris win, and then Exeter, Tigers, Saints, and Sharks all lost.
All lost, yeah.
Yeah. So like,
I see Sharks have been sued by Castleford for trying to pull a Brian
I
Carney.
saw that. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
So,
I'd love to see Denny Solomona playing in rugby union, though. He's a great player. Really is. Anyway.
well, yeah, we definitely will look forward to that. Well, thanks very much, boys, and thanks very much for watching, and please join us in the second half.